Well, hello, everyone. Pardon me. Terrible way to start a broadcast. I have a little frog in my throat. But at any rate, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your Christian Whistleblower. And before we get started, I want to tell you can get this super cool UFO t-shirt at jeffreydaugherty.com, christianwhistleblower.com. I think it's called the Third Eye UFO t-shirt, but it's very awesome. Kind of a UFO coming out of a somewhat of a sunflower, and it's an all over print t-shirt. So very, very handsome. And I'm getting, besides frogs in my throat, I'm getting a lot of emails and a lot of comments about these videos, and I appreciate every single one of them. Well, almost every single one of them, because some of them are just ignorant. But they fall into basically two categories. One, Jeffrey, thanks for sharing this. We've never heard it. We think it's great. It's opening our eyes. Thank you so much. And then there's the other, you're the Antichrist. You're stupid. You're ugly. Your mother dresses you funny. Well, be that as it may, the thing that is really surprising to me is that it just shows the power of religiosity in 21st century America, that people have not heard the things I talk about. Now, I understand for about 2,000 years, it was difficult for us to have access to the information because the internet wasn't around. And to be able to get the books that I, before the internet came around, used to study, you had to invest over $1,000 to get the proper books or spend a lot of time in libraries. So I understand up until the 90s, up until, let's say up until the mid 90s or the turn of the century, that it was difficult to, or problematic at least, to get this information. But since 2000, that's 16 years, people have had unfettered access to all this information. What I bring is nothing new. It's 2,000 years old, because what I bring is what Yeshua used to bring. And I know the implications of that, but it's true. What I teach, what I share, has not been shared since the Apostle John died about 100 AD-ish. Well, let's not get that dramatic. Maybe 200 AD, because there were still some folks sharing what John was sharing. But it's been over 2,000 years since what we talk about has been shared. And people read this and they're either like, oh, how have I missed it? Or they're like, you're stupid. Well, stupid is as stupid does. And stupid is real, knowing that there is information out there and not availing yourself of it, or at least not taking a look at it. Ignorance is no longer an excuse. For 2,000 years, ignorance was an excuse. It is no longer an excuse. And when you look at the things that we've talked about this week, now it's Friday. If you look at the things that we've talked about this week, every one of them is straight from the Greek or the Hebrew original language of the Bible. And today, I just wanted to talk and show you again how little you know because you've been tricked. We talked about in the beginning God. And we talked about who created the heavens and the earth. And then it says the earth was without form and void. And we believe as people that God created the heavens and the earth. And when God created them, they were without form and void. I would ask you, what kind of a God creates something that is without form and void? Desolate and wasteful. Desolate wasteland is the literal translation. So I remember when I first read that Greek, and I thought, and at this time, I didn't even know the Elohim thing yet. God, I knew it, but I was ignoring it because I was so indoctrinated. God created the heavens and the earth. And I look, everything God creates is good, typically. But yet here, God created the heavens and the earth, and they were desolate It was a desolate wasteland. And that just didn't make sense to me. And if you're thinking, instead of just swallowing everything that comes from behind a pulpit like a baby bird, chomping down the barf from the mother bird pastors and priests and imams and rabbis, you'd be thinking the same thing. But why? And then I found a little verse in Isaiah, and I'm not going to tell you where it is. I want you to look it up yourself. Isaiah said, the earth was not created a desolate wasteland. The same words, tohu and bohu, without form and void. Isaiah said that the earth was not created without form and void. It was created inhabited. So the earth, in the beginning, the male and female gods created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. I look at the word was. Every other place in the Bible, that word was is translated as became. Every time. So in the beginning, the male and female gods and goddesses created the heavens and the earth became without form and void. Harmonizes with the reading what the text really says, harmonizes with Isaiah saying, hey, the world was not created without form and void, but Genesis says it was created without form and void. And you dirty, rotten, rat bastard, lying, cowardly apologists, priests, pastors, rabbis, imams, where are you? You know it says in the beginning, the male and female gods and goddesses created the heavens and the earth. And you know it says it became without form and void. And you know Isaiah said it wasn't created without form and void. It was created inhabited. And that's why Jeremiah, I'll give you this one, Jeremiah chapter 4 said, I looked, and lo, the earth was without form and void. Jeremiah said it was not created without form and void. The only other place it's ever said to be without form and void, Genesis 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2. So Jeremiah looked at that without form and void earth that had become without form and void. The earth that was inhabited had become without form and void. And Jeremiah says, I looked, there was no man. Confirming what Isaiah said, that the earth was not created without form and void. It was created inhabited. There were no cities, confirming Isaiah. The fruitful place had become a wilderness. I looked and there was no man, again confirming Isaiah. But here's the kicker. And this takes us back full circle to in the beginning, God, long gray hair, long gray beard. Not that I have anything personally against male figures with grayish hair and grayish beards. But Jeremiah said, I looked, the earth was without form and void. These cities were broken down. The fruitful place had become a wilderness. There was no man. The birds had fled. And why? How did it happen? This is the was. In the beginning, the male and female gods created the heavens and the earth. As Isaiah said, it was perfect. It was inhabited. Jeremiah called it a fruitful place. Then the was happened. It became without form and void. Why? At the coming of the Lord and his fiery anger. That's right. The God you've been worshiping your whole life destroyed the earth. The God you've been worshiping your whole life is not a God, he's a killer. He's not a savior, he's a villain. He's not a loving God, he's a bloodthirsty, cowardly, fallen, pathetic, weak, arrogant, laughable failure. And he can't keep the knowledge tucked away any longer. Because here I am. And here we are. And let me tell you something. We are just getting started. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your Christian Whistleblower. Hope you've enjoyed the program this week. We'll see you again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Now that the truth of the scriptures is breaking out all over you, brother, all over you, sister. If I didn't like the shirt so much, I'd rip it off. Jeffrey Daugherty, your Christian whistleblower, bringing you peace and light. And above all else, folks, stop eating the barf and unindoctrinate yourself.